Welcome to another episode of the Sovereign CEO podcast. I'm Carla Joy Treadway. This is a shorter solo episode that I think every single human being needs to listen to right now. This is going to be so helpful for you if you're a business owner, if you're a creator, if you have a regular 9 to 5, if you are retired, if you are a parent, if you are young, if you are old. All across the board, this is a topic that we all need to be paying attention to. And more importantly, I'm going to be going over something that's happening to every single one of us. And then we can actually remedy the situation, including some things that I'm specifically using in my own life, in my own business, that's helping me tremendously. Today, I want to talk to you guys about the attention apocalypse. Our most precious resource, it's not time, it's attention. Attention is more valuable than diamonds, than oil and gas. And I've been thinking a lot about attention over the last few years. You know, marketing is the intentional cultivation of attention. I'm in the business of attention. And it's something that you need a lot of in order to be successful. So in my marketing business, we're constantly looking at new ways to gather attention intentionally. But it's also something that I've always struggled with in my personal life. I don't even know if ADHD is an actual thing, guys. I've been diagnosed by a therapist, but we'll just call it for now my ADHD tendencies or distracted tendencies, my constantly uprooted home life. My husband and I moved every 6 months for the 15 years that we were together. We move back and forth between the island that we live on and mainland. We travel quite a bit, and pair that with my constant need to create new things as a creator and the daily pull of, my needs, got to take care of my health and my home and then my family's needs and the world around me, my kids. Attention feels like a really scarce resource, yet we are stretched in so many directions. There's so many things that need our attention right now. Now, I hit burnout about a year ago, and overnight I went from being in a really creative flow state to a brick wall, to absolutely nothing. I mean, nothing. I couldn't think straight. I couldn't do anything. Before I hit burnout, I was constantly live launching webinars and masterclasses for my coaching business. I was hosting 3 podcast guests a week on average. I was guesting on a ton of different podcasts. I was traveling to speak at different events. I was running multiple businesses. So we had the podcast, my coaching business. I worked for some metals companies. We have an Airbnb business. We have the construction company. I was helping launch some huge Canada-wide events, and that's all on top of, endless DMs, emails, and the daily tasks at home. But it was fine. I could do it all, and I was having fun until I wasn't. And I hit a huge wall, and all of a sudden, I couldn't think. I couldn't think straight. I'd be trying to play Monopoly with my kids, and I couldn't pay attention long enough to notice that they had just taken their little markers over some property that I owned, and I didn't collect for it. I couldn't pay attention during a board game. I couldn't pay attention when people were talking to me in meetings. I couldn't bring words to mind that I wanted to talk about. And all motivation was sucked out of my body, and a light creeping anxiety took its place. It was awful. Couldn't bring to mind simple words, recent memories. It actually felt dangerous even to drive my car. Like I really couldn't pay attention. And I knew I had to do something radically different fast. And this is not a podcast just about burnout. You guys have heard about burnout before. This is something different. Today, I want to talk to you about burnout because it's part of it, about focus, about creative fatigue, and the more ominous but necessary topic of the attention apocalypse. How do we live in a world that's so clearly damaging our ability to stay present while we navigate fast-paced digital entrepreneurship, AI, and the constant need to be connected with one another? We're going to dive into that today. So focus is a finite resource. Think of it like a mental fuel tank. You're going to wake up with a certain amount of cognitive energy, energy in your tank. And this is going to be influenced by your sleep, nutrition, how stressed you are, and your emotional state. Every single decision, every time you switch contexts, you're working, then you check a message, every distraction drains that tank. Once it's low, your ability to sustain deep attention, make good decisions, and think creatively drops fast. We think of it as this like endless supply, or maybe we can top up the tank by like throwing a coffee here and there. But the truth is, it's limited. You're going to wake up with a certain amount in your tank. Focus is limited because of biological constraints. So, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for planning, problem solving, and focus, it burns a lot of glucose and oxygen. The more that you have to extend the time that you need to concentrate, it literally uses up more of your metabolic resources. So, when those resources are depleted, your brain pushes you towards easier dopamine heavy tasks, scrolling, checking your email, because they cost less energy. Sound familiar? Focus also feels limited because of decision fatigue. Every choice you make, from what to eat for breakfast to which headline to click, chips away at your deep work energy. The more micro decisions you make early in the day, the less focus you have later. This is why I lean heavily on coaching support at all times in my business. Even, I have a fitness coach named Ashley Moore. She's amazing. I have a business coach. I work with Brandon Forbes. It is so hard to do all the strategizing yourself. Now, I do strategy for a living, so I feel like I ran through that tank fast, not just my own strategy, but other people's strategy. It was so helpful for me to have like this backup support system to assist me with decision fatigue. There's something also called attention residue. Switching between tasks leaves like kind of like mental tabs open. Every tiny context switch, it prevents you from fully focusing or refocusing, and that's going to drain your capacity faster. I think it was Andrew Huberman that said, we think that we're multitasking. We're working on the computer, we check a text message, we go back, we think it actually just took a second. And I believe it was Andrew who said it takes 20 minutes to get back into that same flow state. So think of all the time that you're wasting, but also think of all the time that your brain is emitting energy. And last but not least, your nervous system. Your nervous system is going to limit your focus as well. So when your body is stuck in low level stress, more energy needs to go to threat monitoring and less to, I have to help this person pay attention. That's why when you breathe or move or go out in nature, it feels like it starts to give you more focus back. It literally helps you free up more resources. So these are all the ways that our lifestyle and our biology impacts our focus. And this has always happened, right? But the attention apocalypse is something a little different. This is what happens when our ability to focus is literally under siege by technologies, platforms, and cultural trends that commoditize our attention. These apps are designed to keep you addicted, to steal your focus. Attention is the most valuable resource of 2025, and it's extracted relentlessly and covertly, and it's affecting our ability for empathy, consciousness, and social interaction. Modern social media platforms, they monetize distraction. This is encouraging addiction, outrage, polarization, scrolling, mindless entertainment over deep thought or real human connection. And this is fracturing our attention and literally eroding society. People are like zombies now. I'm sure you guys have seen the person driving while looking down at their phone, or the person walking straight into traffic looking at their phone. I've also even heard that humans are starting to lose their peripheral vision because they only look straight ahead now. We're drowning in content. We're overloaded by choices, and we're super trapped in echo chambers, constantly distracted by the fear of missing out. During the lockdowns, during COVID, I was sucked into endless information holes on Instagram, but also Telegram. And I had this weird thought that if I just spent enough time, I could like figure it all out. If I just kept reading, eventually you realize that you can only take in a snowflake's worth of information compared to the blizzard that's hitting you. And you know what? This online space, this access to information, this access to all of this like cool and entertaining content, it was fun for a while. The access, the speed, the sheer volume, but the fun is kind of over now. And we're starting to notice the symptoms. And it's time that we pay attention to the threat of the attention apocalypse. We know that this is hurting kids. We know that screens hurt kids. There's a lot of good parents that minimize the amount of screen time that their kids get for a reason. But we need to be more careful as adults too. I'm a pretty old school parent. I'm the kind that spanked their kids. We don't let our kids swear. We take them to church on a Sunday. We make them visit their grandparents. We make them play outside no matter the weather. And we're a very low screens household. My kids both have phones because they operate heavy machinery. They have both driven their own boats and snowmobiles since they were 9 years old. And I need to be able to reach them, and they need to be able to reach me. But they didn't get social media until they were 13 or 14. And even then, we monitor it closely. And my 13-year-old is only allowed Snapchat because that's how really all the kids communicate. And that's how she stays in contact with her friends. Could I also take that away? Sure. But guys, we live on an island. Like, I got to make it easy on that kid too. My 16-year-old has the other apps, but honestly, hardly ever uses them. They do sports, they work, they make things with their hands, they go outside, they drive their boats, they go camping. And it has always blown my mind how many parents have given their young kids unbridled phone access, including all the social media apps, but they wouldn't ever let them, explore a forest alone. We were the opposite. We had super strict no phone rules at home, but we gave our girls total freedom to roam the massive lake that we live on and the woods. Jonathan Haidt's book, The Anxious Generation, examines how smartphones and overprotective parenting have triggered a mental health crisis amongst youth. But adults, you need to hear this too, because the exact same thing is happening to you. So in The Anxious Generation, he talks about the great rewiring of childhood. Rates of anxiety, depression, self-harm, and suicidal behavior amongst youth started climbing sky high around 2010. This was right when smartphones were starting to become super popular. And he argued that it's not a coincidence and that childhood shifted from kids playing outside to kids being on their phones. And adults aren't immune. Many are just as anxious, depressed, and disconnected because of their phones. He talks about the decline of play. So there's no more unstructured, unsupervised play, building forts, going outside, exploring, and people just have kids on their phone or playing video games, and parents think that they're keeping their kids safe. They're not letting them explore or tumble or get hurt. And today's safetyism is literally replacing their ability to thrive. Like, they're being overprotected in some ways, but we're neglecting the harms of the screens and the phone. There's a lot of adults, talking about safe spaces and early bedtimes and self-isolation. They're not letting kids be kids and explore their neighborhoods and run around and scrape their knees and be out in community. He talks about 4 harms of a screen-centric life: social deprivation, less in-person contact, sleep disruption. Screens obviously are going to wreck a good night's sleep. Attention fragmentation, constant alerts, just destroy your ability to focus for sustained periods of time. Addiction, because all the platforms are engineered and designed to hook you. And guys, all of us, adults, we're living all 4 of these things out in real time. Social deprivation, lack of sleep, attention fragmentation, addiction. Adults, we got to pay attention. Now, he knows that there's gendered impacts and that they're different. For girls, more social comparison, harassment, unrealistic beauty standards. I mean, I don't live in a big city, guys. I live in a small town, but when I go to Winnipeg or Calgary, I'm blown away how everyone looks the exact same, from plastic surgery, the big lips. No shade on anyone who does that, but like, We're doing that because we're looking at pictures online, and now we're all starting to look the same. The impact on boys is disengagement. They get addicted to video games, pornography, different patterns between boys and girls in general. Well, these patterns don't disappear in adulthood. How many grown-ass men are addicted to video games and pornography? It's the same. So the solutions for kids are delay smartphones until at least high school, restrict social media until 16, phone-free schools, reintroduce play. Well, adults do the same thing. Protect your focus, protect your nervous system, put your phone away. Have phone-free zones. Go out and explore and go camping and be with your friends. He also talks about spiritual practices to restore balance. Like there is something deeply, I don't know, antichrist-like about these devices. You know when you get stuck in the scroll hole and you come out and it's almost like you literally got sucked into some sort of vortex. I've been doing a lot of cleanses, digital detoxes daily. I go for walks in the forest, no phone, no podcast, no nothing, just silence. Because attention, I don't know, I guess cultivating attention in and of itself is a spiritual practice. And if you're the kind of person who's like, oh, I can't just be in silence, I can't meditate, like you need it more than anyone. It's not that you're the kind of person who can't. It's that you're addicted to the other behaviors and you can retrain yourself to like silence. You can. If I can do it, you can do it. So when I hit burnout, obviously it was my nervous system kicking in. And then again, attention is a nervous system function. There's all these habits that we just listed from what Jonathan Haidt had pointed out. And this is not something that you can just like muscle through. Like people think, oh, I just need to focus harder. I just need to slam a coffee. But focus isn't a switch. It's a psychological state that you have to nurture and cultivate. Your nervous system has two main modes. Survival mode, this is your sympathetic. This is when your stress hormones surge, your heart rate climbs, you start to get tunnel vision, and your brain prioritizes safety over novelty. When you're in this state, your creativity tanks. When you're in your parasympathetic state, now you're in creative mode. You're calm but alert. Blood flows to the prefrontal cortex, and you start to notice patterns, make connections, and you're able to generate new ideas. If you are currently living in chronic survival mode, emails, alerts, texts, doom scrolling, even if you don't think you're stressed, if you're just quote unquote busy, well, your nervous system only sees that as stress. Your nervous system eventually will shut down your capacity for deep thought and creativity. So there's like this creativity nervous system cycle going on. Creativity thrives on safety. That time you spend in silence out in nature, this is where your brain starts to wander and it starts to connect ideas when it feels safe. Your brain also loves novelty. So when you're in this calm, alert state, you're going to notice new patterns. I didn't notice that before. I mean, for sure, if you're walking in the forest with your phone, you're not noticing the colors of the leaves or the butterfly that just flew by you. And when you're in play, you're playing a board game with your kids or a sport or out dancing, that's going to kill stress. And on the flip side, stress kills your ability to play. And without play, your creativity just dries up. So if your nervous system is dysregulated, you're going to struggle to finish projects, enter that flow state, or create under pressure. You have to decide how important your brain is to you. And you have to decide how important it is for you to keep your creativity. If those two things are important to you, you might want to be more intentional about training your nervous system for focus and creativity. You might take more micro breaks. So 1 to 2 minutes of deep breathing in between tasks. Just close your eyes, breathe, focus for a minute. Go out in nature. I like to take just a quick 10-minute walk after I've had like a long client meeting or I've just filmed a podcast. Anytime you go outside, again, leave the phone at home, go look at the sky, look at the trees, and monotasking. Like train yourself to sustain presence. For a while there, I was always multitasking. I'd be watching a movie. I'd also be on my phone. I'd be working on my computer, but flipping to all sorts of tasks like nonstop. And at the end of the day, wondering why I didn't get anything done. You have to stick it through. And if you've been out of this pattern for a long time, it's going to feel hard. It's going to feel like work, but you have to train yourself to focus again for longer periods of time on one thing. It helps to get up and move. And of course, some digital hygiene, like turn off all your notifications, put your phone away so you can actually just focus on that one thing. Look, the attention apocalypse is a real thing, and this is like the battlefield. This is the thing that we're dealing with. Your nervous system is your armor. Without you training intentionally your nervous system, there is no tool, supplement, or app that's going to save you, because your body's always going to prioritize survival over innovation. Your brain would way rather things be boring than you create and do new things. So again, if creativity is important to you, you got to train your nervous system. And that might require temporary boredom, discipline. This is something I've been doing a lot of lately. Not always perfect, but trying not to look at my phone for the first couple hours of the day. I wake up, I make my coffee, I read the Bible, I journal, I read a bit of a book. I do an ice bath with my face because it releases cortisol. I go outside, I work out. Then I sit on my computer, I do some deep work. I focus on like big needle moving projects, things that take like sustained attention. And I try not to have meetings or do emails or messages or DMs until later in the day. I try not to multitask. I go outside without the phone as much as possible. And I'm trying to read a lot more books because there was a long period of time there where I wasn't. And I'm also trying to use AI way less. I'm no longer allowing AI to write any content. It can be my content helper, prompting an idea or editing something that I already wrote. But I'm kind of going old school lately, reading old school books, paper books, not digital versions, writing in a journal, just trying to stay offline as much as possible. Here's some other things that might help you if you are in the online space and that's your bread and butter and you want to keep working online because there's so many benefits, so much freedom, but you also don't want to fry your brain. So the online space that provides all these opportunities is the same environment that's destroying your focus, but you can design protective systems. You can do some of the things that I was doing, old school, reading, writing, go outside, look at trees, or focus on these like principal things. One is build your own deep work islands. Time block your calendar. Block 90 to 120 minutes for creation without notifications. Put your phone away, turn it off, have one thing that you're working on for that period of time. That might look like your batched content creation. And during this time, maybe you do as much of it offline as you can. Can you use offline tools to capture your ideas, old school notebooks? Can you draw some things out? Number 2, closed garden social strategy. So, what does that mean? It means don't just open up your phone without a plan. Decide what you're going to do before you even open that thing up and create your content before you consume. Never let a scroll be the first thing that you do. In fact, try to scroll never. Timers can be really helpful for this. Like set a 15-minute timer going in, going out. Like give yourself some parameters. You could also use a scheduling tool. So you could go in there, create a bunch of content, and then slowly drip some of that out later. Number 3 is daily nervous system regulation. Start the day without devices. Move it like throughout the day. Take breaks, go outside. Use breath work or cold showers or that ice bath. You just have to get like ice on your face. It's such a good hack. Number 4, protect your input diet. So follow less people. Instead of scrolling on social media, read long form content on Substack. Spend way more time in curated spaces. Like I love spending time in my free community, the one that I coach in, or I'm in a handful of really cool communities and masterminds that I participate in. I'd way rather go over there than social media these days. And number 5, build from an operating system. Have a weekly workflow, meaning like Monday, for example, I just write. Tuesday, I just film. Wednesday, Thursday, I have client calls. And then Friday is admin, editing, finance, a bunch of tasks that are harder for my ADHD brain. Pairing like with like, having different days. So like every day isn't a phone day. Like that can be so beneficial. And set some slow growth, caterpillar growth goals that don't depend on you always needing to constantly create and be present online. We are about to step into a very wild time. AI is going to change everything, guys. Things are going to move fast. And anyone that tells you they know exactly what's going to happen, they're lying. No one knows, but I do know that the people that will have the real competitive advantage are going to be the people who preserve their brains. So the Industrial Revolution made human beings weaker because robots literally started doing all the heavy lifting for our bodies. We no longer had to shovel. We had robots and machines for that. Well, AI is taking your focus, your attention, and your creativity. I use AI, and I'm going to do a podcast soon just on AI. But what you need to remember is your brain is a finite daily budget. Your focus is finite. If you spend it reacting to pings and messages and scrolling, you're not going to have anything left for your most valuable work. If you waste it on entertaining content, if you are always letting AI do your work and you're never writing, never creating, never reading, you're going to get dumber. The attention apocalypse is real. You can still live and work in the online space, but you have to understand what's happening to us. And you have to protect your attention by being out in the real world more, doing hard things, pushing yourself, disciplining yourself to do things that are hard. Like doing one task right now might be hard. Things that require sustained focus and not always obsessing about producing things faster. The side effects of our current lifestyle are real and scary. This normalization of, even people not wanting to go out anymore and they're just homebodies, and it sounds really nice, but maybe it's actually a side effect of this. We're losing our ability to socialize and be in real life. These are real problems, but the solutions are simpler than you think. Put your phone away more. Read and write long form content. Stop scrolling. Do hard things. Go look at trees. And yeah, for the love of God, go outside more. Go outside more. More on this later. We're going to do a whole podcast just on AI for sure. The more I learn, the more I'm excited and terrified at the exact same time. But everything's going to change for worse or for better. These simple solutions are legitimate. They work. I should tell you guys too, I don't feel burnt out the way that I did. My brain feels crisp. I'm able to focus and pay attention. But I have to tell you guys, it took a long time. It took months for me to get that back. So pay attention. You can still work in the online space, but protect your focus and your creativity at all costs. Guys, if you like what we're doing here over on The Sovereign CEO, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It helps us a ton, or sharing this with someone who needs to hear this. That would be so helpful. Thanks for listening, guys, and I'll see you next time.